Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manav Sinha and it is so good to see all of you lovely people once again. In case you're new here, welcome. You've just tuned into that one show which satisfies your hunger for both technology as well as automobiles at one place. And just like every time, there's a lot of action that we have packed into this episode, so I'm not going to waste any more time. Kickstart the show, let's get to it, let's see what's coming your way in the course of the next half an hour. This week, we'll be taking you for a ride in the Land Rover Defender and telling you special things about the SUV. Then we'll dive into the world of cryptocurrency and tell you all about Litecoin. And we'll also take you for a ride in the all-new TVS Jupiter 125. So yes, all of that action will be coming your way, and yes, this is the Nissan Magnite, our trusty long-termer car. We're shooting the review of it, so expect our long-term review of the Nissan Magnite to come on the show soon. But right now, we're going to talk about a much bigger SUV, a much more hardcore SUVs. In fact, one of the most capable SUVs in the world. What I'm talking about is the Land Rover Defender, and let's find out more about it by heading on over to Arjit Garg up next.
How do you introduce a vehicle as iconic and as old as India's independence? Well, you can't. So let me present to you the all-new Land Rover Defender. Well, after producing more than 2 million vehicles since 1947, Land Rover decided to pull the plug off this iconic car in 2016, only to bring it back in a new avatar in 2019. This new model, however, is not your everyday average SUV. It's more than that. It's a car even James Bond would take out time to die for. Well, pardon my bad joke there. Let's understand what makes this Defender so unique and so different in a world full of SUVs. Among all the things that make the new Land Rover Defender so special is its lineage and the rich history. The production of the new model we know now as the Defender began in 1983, although the name Defender came into existence only in 1990. Historically, the Defender is based on the Land Rover Series 1, 2 and 3 models that were in the production since 1948. And were replaced with the Defender in 1983. After continuous production of 67 years, Defender project was stopped in 2016. The new model launched in 2019 is the first all-new model since previous gen model that was launched in 1983. The Land Rover Defender and its predecessors have been known as the OG go anywhere off-roading machines. So the model I'm driving is the Land Rover Defender 90, which gets a 3-door setup and a shorter wheelbase. There's also a longer Defender 110 with a 5-door setup. Both these SUVs command a road presence and grabs so many eyeballs like I've never seen for any of the SUVs on the Indian roads. And trust me, I have driven some of the fanciest machines in India. 90 and 110 in the name indicates the wheelbase in inches. While the 5-door model justifies its size, the 90 looks like a bit of oddball, but that's only from the side angle. Overall, the 90 commands a road presence, especially in the dual-tone green and white shade we drove. It carries the age-old boxy design theme of the Defender series with new generation updates like the LED lights, a multi-layered complex grille, bonnet with mesh elements, vertically stacked rear lights and a door-mounted spare wheel, all making it look attractive. Even the large glass area adds to the charm, bifurcating the body in 2 zones, the lower made with the metal sheet and the upper made of the glass. Inside the cabin, it's a whole different SUV together, and nothing like a typical Land Rover, but more on the lines of the Range Rover, which is feature packed, attractive and spacious. What entices me even more is the fact that Land Rover has managed to give cabin a luxury appeal yet retaining the functional appeal with loads of practicality. Now, I've driven some of the biggest SUVs in the Indian market, but none could match the practicality of what Defender is offering. You get these large spaces everywhere inside the car. And if you are under the notion that this is a 3-door model and there wouldn't be a space at the back seat, you are wrong. If you sit behind, you'll realize that it is amply spacious for 3 full-grown adults. While the seats are super comfortable and spacious, the whole glass area I mentioned during the exteriors further elevates the sense of space inside the cabin. Also, the color theme with heavy use of white elements on the dashboard and door pads further adds roominess and brightens up the cabin. In terms of the features, you get a 10-inch infotainment touchscreen display, digital instrument panel, panoramic sunroof, Meridian surround sound system, and a host of gadgets we never thought could make way to an off-roaded oriented SUV. You also get a handful of cameras on the body that helps you not only in the city driving but are actually meant for off-roading with close-up view of the tires for easy maneuvering. The Land Rover 90 can be bought in a variety of engine options, which include a P300 all-wheel drive automatic variant with a 2-liter turbocharged petrol engine, and that's the one we tested, along with a 3-liter petrol and diesel units, and also a V8 5-liter mill with 525 bhp output. As for the engine we got to test, it gets 300 bhp and 400 Newton meter of output, and at no time you feel the engine to be lethargic or incapable to tow this massive SUV. In fact, the engine is so good you feel like driving a more powerful Defender thanks to an exhaust note and the acceleration it produces. This is the same Ingenium range of engines you get in the Jaguar cars. The engine is mated to a 8-speed torque converter automatic gearbox. While the city driving is as smooth and powerful as it can get, the Defender is actually the OG off-roader, and the new machine carries forward the same spirit with 5 off-roading modes. You can take the car anywhere you wish, and unlike many pseudo SUVs, this car won't disappoint you even at the harshest of terrains. We of course didn't take it for a spin on the uncharted roads just for the fun of it, but the small amount we spent with the car points out at the capabilities like none of the SUVs we have ever driven before. Lastly, talking about the pricing bit. To my surprise, this mammoth SUV is priced just north of rupees 75 lakh, even when Land Rover is bringing the Defender through the CBO route. In fact, you can buy all the variants under rupees 90 lakh ex-showroom, which makes it a huge value for money if you're looking for a car as big as this and as iconic as the Defender name tag. In terms of the competition, you can look out for either the Range Rover Velar if more sophistication is your thing, or plenty of performance SUVs like the Mercedes-Benz GLC 43 AMG or even the BMW X4M. Then there are the conventional 5-door city SUVs like the GLE X5 Q7 of sorts. But the Range Rover Defender has its unique identity, history, road presence and functionality. So that's it. That is my interpretation of why the new Land Rover Defender is such a good vehicle and all the SUV you should ever think if you are buying a car under rupees 1 crore.
Now let's move on to the world of technology, and in that world, cryptocurrencies are the talk of the town. Now here at the Tech and Auto Show, we keep telling you about all kinds of cryptocurrencies, and today we're going to talk about Litecoin. So without wasting any more time, let's head on over to Darab to find out more.
Now we have all heard of light version of things like apps and games. For example, Facebook Lite, Twitter Lite, PUBG Lite, Instagram Lite and the likes. Now these are smaller, more efficient versions of the original apps or games meant for weaker machines like budget smartphones or Chromebook laptops. Similarly, in cryptocurrencies, there is Litecoin, which is said to be the lighter version of Bitcoin. Now, what is Litecoin and how is it different from the biggest cryptocurrency, Bitcoin? Let's find out. Now, Litecoin was created in 2011 by a former Google employee named Charlie Lee. It was created to be the lighter version of Bitcoin and was designed to carry out everyday transactions. Litecoin's own creators have said that Litecoin is the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Now, Litecoin works like any other cryptocurrency around the globe. Users can send each other Litecoins without having to worry about a central authority to validate those transactions. Now, Litecoin adopts a lot of features from Bitcoin that the makers felt were working well for the earlier cryptocurrency, and changes some other aspects that Lee and his team thought could be improved. One similarity is that both of them are proof of work ecosystems. This means that the process by which the cryptocurrencies are mined is fundamentally similar. However, there are differences. First and the foremost, market cap. While Bitcoin has a market cap of close to $650 billion at the time of making this video, Litecoin has a market cap of less than $10 billion. Second is the number of cryptocurrencies that can be produced. While Bitcoin is limited to a quantity of 21 million coins, Litecoin's ecosystem can accommodate up to 84 million coins. Now, Litecoin was made with an aim to improve transaction speeds. And according to data from blockchain.com, the average time taken by Bitcoin's network to confirm a transaction is just under 10 minutes. Litecoin, on the other hand, confirms transactions in 2.5 minutes. The most technical difference between Litecoin and Bitcoin is that they use fundamentally different cryptographic algorithms. Now, while Bitcoin uses the SHA-256 algorithm, Litecoin uses an algorithm named Scrypt. The SHA-256 algorithm is considered much more complex than the newer Scrypt. Bitcoin miners use sophisticated methods in order to mine Bitcoins, with the most common one being the use of application-specific integrated circuits or ASICs. These are hardware systems that, unlike the traditional CPUs and GPUs, can be tailored towards the purpose of just mining cryptocurrencies. This makes Bitcoin mining out of reach for the everyday user. Litecoin, on the other hand, is more accessible in terms of mining. Now, while there are companies that make script-based ASICs as well, the majority of Litecoin mining is done on consumer-grade GPUs and CPUs. This is why script-based cryptocurrencies like Litecoin are considered more accessible for the everyday users in terms of mining those cryptocurrencies. So this was Litecoin, the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Now, while Bitcoin and Litecoin might be the gold and silver of the cryptocurrency space, history has shown us that the prices of both of them are subject to dramatic volatility. It still remains to be seen if the cryptocurrencies will retain the stature that they hold today in the next few years.
Welcome back. You're watching the Tech and Auto Show and I'm your host Manav Sinha, and yes, this is the Nissan Magnite SUV. However, it's time to talk about two-wheelers and it's time to talk about TVS's attempt once again at the 125cc scooter segment in the form of the new TVS Jupiter. By the looks of it, they have really knocked it out of the park, but is it really true when you ride it? Well, Anirudh got his hands on the scooter and here's what he has to say about it.
Now, if you ask us where we are at TVS's facility at Hosur, a couple of meters away from the R&D test track. And now, if you ask us why we are here, it is for this, the Jupiter, or I should say, the brand new Jupiter. Now, the word new carries a lot of weightage because after selling 4.5 million units of the previous one, the new Jupiter now operates in a new segment with a new engine and a brand new chassis. So, in this rather beautiful weather, we are going to be looking at what the scooter is all about and whether it's really worth your purchase. Now, in terms of design, the Jupiter 125 comes in 3 paint schemes and it is safe to say that all 3 of them are definite lookers. While we do agree that the looks are subjective, the orange one we were riding really struck a chord with me. In its new avatar, the Jupiter gets newly designed headlights, tail lamps and lights on the apron, all of which are LED units. The silhouette of the scooter is quite proportionate and the package only gets sweeter with its new 12-inch diamond cut alloy wheels. The paint finish on the scooter feels premium and is very well done. The tail continues in terms of quality of material as well, as the switchgear feels good to the touch and superior in terms of fit and finish. Now the list of features is actually a very important thing when it comes to the scooters of this segment, and that's exactly where the TVS Jupiter 125 shines. Apart from a few features that we really liked, like the fuel filler cap that is now at the front, the 2-liter glove box that comes with a mobile charger, what really takes the cake is the new 32 liters of boot that can now fit 2 full-face helmets. And if you ask me how TVS did it, it's by placing the fuel filler cap at the front, which means the tank, which is conventionally supposed to be at the back, is now below the foot floor. Not only does this free up space at the back, but also lowers the center of gravity for better control. The new Jupiter gets a semi-digital instrument cluster. In addition to showing vital information like speed, trip and fuel, the unit also shows distance to empty, average fuel economy as well as instantaneous fuel economy. Now if you're talking of ergonomics, the new Jupiter finds the sweet spot perfectly. For reference, I am 5'7" and everything is easily accessible. You sit quite upright that might not raise any backaches even after long city commutes. TVS claims that the Jupiter 125 has the longest seat in the segment. There's plenty of room to move around. However, we did feel that the cushioning could have been a little better. So now moving on to the more important changes, and we will start with the engine. Now TVS already has the NTORQ 125 in its lineup. However, the engine that sits in the Jupiter is a brand new one that has been built from the ground up. Unlike the NTORQ 125, which has 3 valves, the Jupiter 125 gets a 2-valve engine that is tuned for more city-friendly and more fuel efficiency. Outputting 8.3 PS and 10.5 Nm of torque, the numbers of Jupiter are mildly lower than the NTORQ. The Jupiter offers its peak torque at the low and mid-range. The spread is consistent, making the ride a pleasant one, and we can feel that this will be a well-behaved scooter in the city. The suspension in its default setting is on a softer side, but you get preload adjustability that can be changed with the flick of a lever at the rear shocks. Other cycle parts including the brakes have been borrowed from the NTORQ. Both at the front and the back, the setup provides plenty of feedback and has good bite as well. Now, if I have to sum it up, our experience with the TVS Jupiter 125 has been nothing short of delightful. Ranging from its peppy engine, its ride quality and its exhaustive list of features, this is actually a very worthy contender in the 125cc scooters segment. Now all that's left to see is the price, and we are eager to see what it does in the segment and how it competes against the segment rivals.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of the Tech and Auto Show. How did you find the show? Is there anything you have to say, anything you want us to cover, or simply want to have a conversation with us? Well, reach out to us on our Twitter handles. We are more than happy to talk. If it's about technology, reach out to us at News18Tech. If it's about automobiles, tweet out to us at News18Auto. And remember, by logging on to news18.com, you can read up more on both these industries as well as all about the Nissan Magnite. Well, that's about all for today. I'll catch you same time next week, only on CNN News 18.